Hey guys, I'm gonna do a tutorial on how I made the graphics for the Vsauce3 video, What If the World Ended? Jake and I got really into the 1980s style, and I did a ton of research on 80s computer graphics, which was incredibly fascinating. There's this really cool YouTube channel called Vintage CG. I'll put a link in the description, but definitely check it out. The fascinating part is seeing how we started with computer graphics and where we are now. It's a massive leap, because when we started, it was like rough, really rough. So now that I got my inspiration, let's jump into Cinema 4D. Okay, so now that we're in Cinema, we're gonna create a text object, but we're not gonna do mode text this time. We're actually gonna use the text object. You'll see why in a second. Okay, so let's select our font. The one I chose was PF Electronica. That's a pretty cool 80s looking text. All right, so now that we have there, we're gonna put, you can put anything. I'm gonna put nuclear winter. Let's start with nuclear. Okay, so now we have our text object created. We have to extrude these splines into an actual 3D object. So there we have this. Okay, let's create a material. The kind of gradient I want to create starts here, starts light, and then ends up dark here, all the way through the center, and then light again. It's this very typical 80s color scheme, but that's kind of what we were going for when we made it. Was we wanted it to be really stereotypical 80s and kind of over the top. So to do that, we have our material here. We're gonna go to Texture, Gradient, and open the gradient by clicking on it. And we're gonna start with light blue. Right around there, it looks good. Okay, and then we're gonna go to purple. These are just the colors I chose. You can choose any colors. And then we're gonna go to black. A very hard edged black, so we're gonna create two of them. And when our next color is gonna be really close to this one, that's gonna create a very sharp line right here. So we're gonna go back with blue again. You see that line, how it's very sharp? That's because we put these so close together that the gradient is so small you can't see it. Then our last one is gonna be a purple again. And I chose these colors based upon Vsauce3 colors, and they were like very retro looking. Okay, so obviously this is not what we want. It's going from left to right, but we want it to go top to bottom, or bottom to top. So we click on our material. Right now our projection's on UV mapping. What we want it to be at is flat. Let's go back into our gradient and change the angle to 90 degrees. And we're gonna change our offset V, so our black is directly in the middle. That's looking a little cleaner. So when we render it, we get that. So what I don't like about this is the specular. We're gonna go into our reflections channel and turn off specular. So when we render, we don't get any of the fake reflections. All right, this is looking good. Next, we're gonna change our extrudes. So it's at 20, we're gonna increase that a little bit, but we're also gonna increase the left to give it this fake pulling to the left effect. Okay, now they're getting very close together. So what we can do is go into our horizontal spacing and separate them a little bit. Okay, let's actually create a camera right now and just start framing up our shot. actually change this to a 45. Make it a little bit flatter. All right, so basically this is gonna be the inside of our text right now. We need to make the edges as well. So I'm gonna duplicate this extrude by holding down to Control and dragging. And when you get that little plus, that means you're gonna copy it. Our original extrude, the inside, this is gonna be our inside one. We're actually gonna wanna change the caps to a fillet cap. We're gonna make these pretty small. You don't want these to go crazy. It's a nice little edge. And then on our edge extrude, we're gonna change it to just a fillet. See, it's still not right. So on this one, we have to constrain so it goes inwards. And now, this one, if we go in, we'll be sitting on just the outside. We're actually gonna change this to half circle. So it's just like a nice little edge created all the way around the text. Okay. Let's actually increase the radius of there we go. So now we need to make a material for the edge, and it's not gonna be the same. We're actually gonna do a solid color gradient, nothing as crazy as this. Okay, so I'm gonna go with a purple to a dark purple. We're actually gonna change this one to UV wrapping and put this back to 0. We're getting close. I really like the way this is looking. It looks very retro, which is what we were going for. I might actually change this from black to a little bit of a dark purple, so it's not as intense. Maybe somewhere around here. All right, so the next thing we want to do with our edge material is we're going to create a reflectance. We're going to turn back on our specular because we really want these to bling. So within our specular, we're going to decrease our width, increase our specular strength, so I'm just gonna do this till I get this nice sharp curve here, so that when I place a light in here, it's just gonna hit the edges here and it's gonna bling out. Okay, so now let's create our first light. Here it is. You hit render. Oh my God, looks terrible. So we're gonna take this, move it back in Z space. You see, you can even see it here, it's starting to hit. So basically gonna be animating these lights. There's gonna be a bunch of them from left to right. We don't really want it to hit the diffuse. We just want it to hit the specular. So there you go. That's looking good. Okay, so I don't want this light to affect my base layer. So what I'm gonna do is copy this texture and I'm gonna create a luminance channel and paste that texture in the luminance channel. So now this light isn't affecting our base layer anymore. But we're also not getting what we want for our edge light. So to do that, we're also going to copy our color texture and transfer it over to the luminance channel. Same way we just did it with the other one. We're just gonna turn it down We're gonna take this brightness, turn it all the way down because we want it to go onto this channel as well. So it's gonna mix them, mix strength. All right, that looks pretty good. Let's see what we get. That looks good. Let's make this a little brighter. Let's open this up and take this up a notch. Yeah, want it to be bright. There we go. This is looking better, looking cheesy. Okay, so let's go into reflectance. Let's change this up a little bit. I don't really like the way this is looking. So let's up our strength. Let's do our inner width. We want it to be a nice, there it is, that nice hard light right there. Okay, I'm gonna move this light back. All right, so if I move this light back, I'm just isolating the edge more and getting less on the actual side. So that looks pretty good. We're gonna create a bunch of these, so this is looking perfect. Okay, great. So now that we have our first word, we're going to duplicate these and make our second word. Start labeling these. This is going to be nuclear. Nuclear base. Ha! Nuclear base. That's funny. Nuclear edge. This one is going to be winter base. And then winter edge. Just so it's easier for us to see. All right, let's change this. We're going to go winter. Winter is coming. All right, so now that we got everything replaced, let's bring it down. And since this is a left align, we're just gonna leave that there and scale it up because I want it to come right to the same edge. So we're gonna open up both, select our text, and we're gonna take our height and just whoop. All right, so obviously our framing is going to change now. So we're gonna hold Alt, move our camera down, zoom out a little bit, and let's take a look. That looks really cool. I just love the way 80s graphics look. Okay, so winter, since we scaled it up in the height, our middle line is off. So it's a pretty easy fix. We're just gonna come here. We're gonna go to our offset V and just put it right there. Boom. All right, this looks awesome. I'm just gonna keep saying that. It looks awesome. It looks awesome. What's next? All right, so we got our basic setup here. What we're gonna need to do is, I'm gonna animate this light. So I think I'm gonna have it go from here to maybe mid, because we're gonna have a bunch of these. Okay, so let's start here. Might even bring it there. All right, so this is gonna be on the X. We're not gonna move it in the Y or Z. So let's select our X and we're on 0. Let's create a keyframe there. Let's go to a 90, sure. That looks good. Great. So what I don't want, so watch when I play this. It's gonna start slow, speed up, and slow down again. That's the F curve it's taking right now. So I want it to just go a constant speed because we're never gonna show it slow down. So I'm gonna right click on my X, I'm gonna go to animation and show F curve. So right here, so it's going slow, fast, 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 and then slow down again. So what I want is a linear curve. So just right click on the first one, linear. So now it goes at a constant speed, not slowing down. Perfect. What I'm also gonna do, I just noticed, I'm gonna take our edges gonna put a couple more steps in there because I see a little bit of breakage when it's moving. Want it to be nice and smooth. So let's create another light. So hold down Control, bring in another light. So I'm actually gonna do with this one, I'm gonna hit Alt-G with it selected. I'm gonna put it in a null. So now no matter where I move this null, it's not gonna affect the keyframes that I put on it. So we want this one to maybe go at the bottom and here. Okay, great. Let's make a couple more. I'm going to Control, click and drag our null. Let's take this one. Actually going to rotate it 90 degrees. If you hold down Shift, it does it in increments of 10, which is very helpful. All right, so we're gonna put this one over here. We're gonna make it start a little bit lower. Looking good. Okay, so now we got 3. Let's do a couple more. I want another one that goes from here, and let's go the opposite direction. So let's take this null, the one that's down there, and duplicate. We'll keep going the direction we were going. And to do that, I'm just going to, not that way, rotate it 180 degrees. Bring it back over. Now when I play, I'm gonna do one more on the other side and I'm gonna flip it. So take this one, duplicate, bring it over here. So now I want it to go the other way. So we're gonna bring this to -90. No, we're not. +90. There. Now there's a lot of bling going on, which is great. There we go. I'm gonna move it out in Z just to hit that edge a little bit harder. So lots of things happening here. So let's do a quick output to see where we're at. And I just noticed, so on default, we're at frame rate 30. So I'm gonna change it to 24. But in addition to that, our keyframes are at 30 frames per second. This whole time was at 30, so we gotta change that. So if you hit Control D, it's gonna bring up your project settings. So frames per second, 30. We're gonna change that to 24. What this does is it kind of messes up our keyframe, but we can fix that very easily. So we're gonna change this back to 90 to extend our timeline. And we're gonna take all the things we had our keyframes on, which were just the lights. We're going to, so when you select something here, it's actually the keyframes are gonna show up down here. So if you select multiple, since they're all in the same range, it's gonna show up. So when I do this, they're all gonna be affected. See them move there? There, much better. So that's something to do at the beginning, is change your frame rate so you don't have to do what I just did, but I forgot. And that's okay. Now you know. Okay, so I have this. Let's do a quick preview. So we're gonna do all 90 frames. We are not gonna save yet, no information. Let's do quick. I would love to continue. Look at that baby go. Okay, so let's do a quick preview of that. Great. It's very flat, but that's kind of what we're going for, that video game, like 80s style. And I think this is like, and I think it looks really cool. Okay, so let's close it out. There's a couple more things I want to do. So I want it to start way back there and come smash into the front of the screen. So to do that, we're actually gonna do a wireframe, which is a couple extra steps, but it's a really cool effect. So I'm gonna select all of our text. I'm gonna put it in a null. I'm gonna put the null in the center. So to do that, let's just name this text. All right, let's name this up, Nuclear Winter. We're gonna change where our access point is by clicking on this, just changing it to the center. Do it right in the center of both of these. And we're also going to just turn it towards the camera because I want it to go directly back. I don't want this to be in perspective right now. I want it to go straight back. So I change the rotation so it's looking right at us. Let's unclick. Create a keyframe at 16 frames. Now, when I do that, it's affecting everything, but it's much easier to just do it straight back here. I think that's about good. Create another keyframe where we want it, and let's just test this out. Whoop. Perfect. We want it to be quick and just like slamming. Yep, exactly. But what I also want to change is the F curve again. So we're going to select all these, right-click, animation, show F curve. And what I want to do is I want to change just the first keyframe. So when I do this, it's going to start at its normal speed and then slow down. We don't need to change Y, X. So I'm just going to make this as linear as I can. It doesn't need to be perfect because it's so far back and it's so quick you won't be able to see it. So now, constant speed at the beginning and then it slows down. Funk. Perfect. So what I also want to do, just got to make it more complicated. So what I want to have happen is have the text extrude, stay way back, and as it lands, the back catches up with it. So it creates this really cool effect. So let's select all of our text, go to 24 frames. So that's 8 frames after our landing keyframe, which is here. Set a keyframe there. What we want to do, we're going to go over, maybe not over as much. We're going to go back, way back. And we're actually going to go behind it. Yeah, like that. Get this nice long trail behind it. So let's create that. We're also going to do the same thing. We're going to go to our F curve and make sure these are all going to linear. They all start linear. Cool. So the way I did, you click and drag, you select all the keyframes. If you just click on one, you're only going to select one of them. See? We want all of them. Okay, so now let's take a look. It's a little slow at the end. I think, you know what we should do? I think I'm going to make them all linear. So I selected all of them, and then I right-clicked and clicked linear. So now that they don't slow down at all, it just slams in. So let's take a look now. Let's bring this one frame back. Maybe even a little. So right now I'm just tweaking. I just want to get it to the area I want. So it's still coming from a little bit from the right. So I'm going to adjust that real quick. Yeah, we want it to come from like directly behind it. So you just saw the F curves change again. So when you change the first keyframe, I'm not sure why. If anyone knows, please let me know. When you change the first keyframe, it resets the curves from linear back to a spline. And we want linear. Control A, we'll go linear. Just really don't want to give me linear, huh? Control A, linear. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, that's perfect. It's a little bit of tweaking. do a quick preview. The other great thing about 80s graphics is there are no filters or heavy render settings that we put on here. You can just do it standard. It's gonna look great. Because, I mean, back in the 80s, they didn't have ambient inclusion and global illumination, I mean, to the degree that we have them. So doing this in the standard render with no settings is great. Yes. Let's watch again. Yeah, it's great. I mean, this is exactly how I made the one for Could You Survive a Fallout. That is not the video we did. What if the world ended? All right. Great. Let's save it. So we're gonna do TIFF 16 alpha, straight alpha. We're gonna do all frames. We're gonna do this in 1920 by 1080 because it takes no time to render. Enter anti-aliasing we can leave low because what we're gonna do to it in After Effects, it doesn't matter. But if you want, you can up the anti-alias settings. I didn't because there was no need. All right, so let's render this out. Forgot to pick a place. All right, let's choose. All right. We'll name this Nuclear Winter Text. All right, let's add it to the render queue. Gotta save it first. Save it in the same folder. Same name. All right. Old project. Right click, start. Yay, it's done. Fantastic. Okay, so we're gonna do one more render. Let's close all these. So basically I want a wireframe of this section here. Just a wireframe. So it actually looks like this. So if you go to display lines, that's what I want. But to get this, there's no effect or anything just to get a wireframe. If you do cell renderer, you get something that looks like that, but that's not what I want. I want to see through everything. So the only way I've found, please let me know if you know another way, is to do under renderer, go to software. So now when you select software, when you hit render, let me just turn off save. When you hit render, now it's going to show everything that's in the viewport. But we have all these lights, all these background, we're not gonna be able to use that. So to get around that, we go to filter, we're gonna turn off our lights, turn off our grid, we're gonna turn off our horizon, so now we just have a completely gray area with black lines. But I want this background to be black. So to do that, we go to Edit, Preferences, Scheme Colors, Editor Colors, Background. Oh, I already set it to black because I've done this. It's usually somewhere around here. Just bring it down to black. And now it's still not black. That's weird, but it's this setting here called gradient. Once it turns off, it's black. Now we can't see this. So to get around that, we select all of these, go to Basic, Use Color, On, Display Color, White. So now, well, when I hit render here, it'll show up white. Exactly. Okay, but we don't want white, we want pink, of course. Of course we want pink. I want a really bright pink. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So now that we have all the wireframes, so remember, just turn on lines and turn off all these filters that show up in the viewport. So now there's nothing in here. So when I save these, it'll save exactly like you see there. So nuclear winter text wireframe. Alpha, it doesn't matter. You can just leave that like that. Okay, so let's, are we on all frames? Output, all frames, 24, yep. All right, let's render this as well. Add to render queue. Would I like save? Yes. Get rid of our first one there. All right, so let's start this render. Oh. Just saw something. Something else is still turned on there. I think that's our world axis. Yes, okay. See, I could see it right there, so you gotta make sure everything's off in this frame or else it'll show up in the render. So let's do it again. Let's add to render queue. Yes, I wanna save. Let's delete that first one. Okay. Start again. Hooray, hoorah, it's done. Okay, cool. So we got all of our layers that we want. Oh, that looks cool too. I even thought about just making them all wireframe, but I think having it display in regular colors is pretty cool too. Okay, let's jump over to After Effects. All right, so let's double click here. Let's import our first, this is the wireframe, so make sure TIFF sequence is selected. Import. Let's import the second one. Here's our second one. Okay, let's select both, drag onto the composition. Single composition, yes please. All right. So here's what our wireframe looks like. Here's what our text looks like. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with the wireframe in. What I wanna do is that I'm gonna change my project file from 8-bit to 32 bits per channel. Why? Because when you add this glow effect in 32-bit, it looks so much better than at 8. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Nice and neon-y, yeah. So as it comes up, boom, when it hits here, we're gonna hit the glow really hard up to white, and then this one's just gonna appear underneath it, on top of it. Yep. I wonder if we should go even more. See, because it's not really giving me the colors I want. I want to have a little bit more white in there. But to do that, I got to re-render. So let's just go back and let's change this. It's a little dark. The pink I selected was not good enough. So we're gonna add a little bit more white in there. When it glows, it'll glow a little bit closer to the color we want. Yes. Add it to render. It's just empty out of render queue now. And luckily these don't take a long time. This isn't a big deal. So let's re-render. We also only need the first like 30 frames of this. We don't need to do the whole 90. Because once it slams into itself, it's gonna change into the other text. Just gonna reload. See, that looks much cooler. So just changing that a little bit closer to white, we got a much better glow. And just, yeah, that looks great. Okay, let's preview that real quick. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. All right, so we have our glow on here. We're gonna take our glow radius, glow threshold, and intensity. We're gonna hit U, the Uber key, to see them. So we're gonna start there. We're gonna blast it up to, take our threshold down because we want almost everything to turn white. Yeah, we'll go 9.4%. Let's turn our radius up. Let's turn our intensity up. So then as this goes up, so it goes boom, up, and then we want this one to be in its place. And then back down. So I'm just gonna copy, paste those back, but we're gonna turn everything intensity down to 0. And then there it is. We can actually get rid of these two, this will do nothing. So it's just the intensity we brought down. We can actually get rid of it after this. So if you hit Control-Shift-D, it'll split, and let's delete that. You can do the same for here, just to keep things neat. Control-Shift-D, delete the first half. Let's take a look. Boom, yes. Nuclear winter. So some other things we did, let's just save this real quick. I'm gonna do nuclear winter. Save project. So another effect we did was the retro VHS effect. To do that, it's actually a plugin. You could do it with the built-in plugins, but it would take an incredible amount of time to figure it out, and a lot of these projects were under a time constraint, and to be able to do this, you need those plugins that just save you time, and I'm all about time saving. So yes, you could do it with built-in, but it's so much more time efficient to have a plugin that just does it. So it's Red Giant, and it's called their Universe package, and inside this Universe package, in Stylize, there is a VHS plugin, which makes things look like this, and it's fantastic. So I'll just go quickly through these. This isn't necessary, but it just gives it that really nice, cool retro VHS look. So we are not in 4x3, we're in original. So obviously this is not looking great. I think the one I went with was Betamax original, because I really like Betamax look. But you notice it gets rid of the alpha channel behind it, which is fine, especially if you have footage underneath it. So let's just bring in a quick shot of Jake. All right, so here's our footage. I'm gonna drop this in underneath. This is gonna be at 6K, so we have to scale that down a bit. Yeah, so once you have it there, it applies it to everything, so you don't really have to worry about that's 6K red footage, slows everything down. So it's a little intense right now, so what I like to do is blend with original. I do about 20. See, we got a little bit of our life back to our color and everything. It's just a little intense. So now when you lay this over your footage, I'm gonna attempt to do a RAM preview here. Okay. You could even do a bigger glow behind it and really make things intense. So you could increase the radius, drop this down, yeah. So you can never really tell until you get something underneath your layered. You can never really tell. Bring that intensity up. Are we making extra keyframes? No, we're good. Bring that intensity up, bring that And that glow up, yeah. So now that's gonna be a little bit more. It's a little weak before. We want that intense, in-your-face 80s graphic, yeah. If you want, I even did this on, I think it was just the intro, but you can go on your base layer, your video layer, take your levels, do a little keyframe of the levels. So when this goes white, you can bring this over and increase the white, yeah. So it's like affecting the video frame as well. So it kind of blends everything a little bit more together. And then we'll go to our last keyframe and then put it back to its original. So just copy, paste. Yeah, so now it makes everything glow, which is just helps sell the effect a little bit more. You can also go through this adjustment layer, this VHS layer, and do a lot more. There's a lot more settings in here that I'm not really gonna get into. You can just play around with it. I mean, the plugin is so great. You can just, there's so many different settings on here for tape damage. If you want it like very bad tracking, it's just like, there's just so many settings. You just need to get in there and play with it. So yeah, that's pretty much my workflow for this one. It's very different than all of my other projects because it's so simplified and it's so a style that I don't do. It was really fun to just get into the feel of trying to make graphics 3 decades ago. It was really cool and pretty simple when it gets down to it, but it's amazing that even these simple graphics are still, I mean, how long has this tutorial been? Like an hour? Just to do that, just to make a wireframe, there's specific settings and we got filters just to make it look retro. I mean, but I think the end effect, it's just really cool. What you can also do, I did this on the main intro shot. I created some nulls, some solids, sorry, and did a little video Copilot optical flares on top to help sell these blings out. So these, I think I did, I think it was 50 prime. I can't be sure. Yeah, I think that might have been it. But I did it really subtle and really small. Yeah. And if you put this underneath there as well, it retros that one as well, which is cool. So you can animate these. It takes a good amount of time. You can animate these as the reflection hits it. It does take some time. So you see how it goes up? I would keyframe this up with it. And I also blurred it to give it a less harsh appearance. Yeah, so it's a little more subtle. Not that intense, but something around there. So you can also do that as well, but that's just time. You just need to keyframe it as it moves. So that's another technique I use to just, it worked for the intro, it was a little too much for everything else. So let's take one look again. Nuclear winter. Well, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm gonna put all the project files in the description, so check this out, download them, you know, do whatever you want with them. You do you. In the next couple weeks, I wanna do a couple more tutorials. I'm debating whether to do the Captain America video on how I did those graphics or maybe some more of these 80 grid style graphics. Let me know in the comments what you guys want to see and keep animating.